Despite the fact that San Francisco hair salons have been closed, locked up for the most part since the month of March, that is Nancy Pelosi in the smock right there. She's being followed by a man in San Francisco at 3:10 in the afternoon at a place called ESalon. Even though nobody could legally get a haircut or any sort of treatment at indoor personal care facilities, there is the Speaker of the House seemingly breaking the rules and not wearing a mask. Let's bring in Dave Rubin, host of the Dave Rubin Show and author of Don't Burn This Book, Thinking for Yourself in an Age of Unreason. He joins us from California. He's not wearing a mask either. Dave, what do you think about the hypocrisy here?
Well, that little video should be the video of 2020 because that sums up, with no audio, it sums up exactly what the Democrats have decided to do, which is do as I say, not as I do. She's now claiming she didn't know what the policy was. You'd think that the Speaker of the House might know what the policy is. But this stuff is not a joke because it is destroying people's livelihoods, as you've done in a couple segments this morning. You know, I'm here in California, and I'm fighting to try to keep a sane California because we've had a sane California in the past. Let's not forget that Ronald Reagan was once the governor of California. And I have two friends, actually, who are hairstylists here in Los Angeles. Both of them have closed their salons. I get now what I assume is an illegal haircut in an open-air garage from one of them who's out of the business altogether, and she's just doing me a favor. And I have another one who's got some makeshift thing out of her house and has one person at a time and knows that she can't continue to make a living this way. So when you see Nancy Pelosi do this, it's very reminiscent of just, 2 months ago when she's standing in front of her twin Sub-Zero fridges with her tons of ice cream, and she's really at the Marie Antoinette let them eat cake phase of this thing.
Don't you think, Dave?
Which is she's going to live however she wants, and her constituents will live another way.
Yeah, don't you think, Dave, it's time for all these hair salon owners just to start opening up? That's their green light. I mean, the Speaker of the House just mocked the suffering they're going through by saying, I'm going to do whatever I want. And now all these people got to go out of business. They should just open up en masse. How could they stop all of them? After all, it has worked in other states, even in this state, which lives to hamstring people. Here's what, don't you think that might be an option now?
Well, I think it's an option not only when it comes to hair salons, but when it comes to restaurants and everything else. And that's not to minimize the reality of COVID, but what that is to realize it's to minimize the reality of the policies, the arbitrary policies that they're putting in place. I mean, if this is, Nancy Pelosi is pretending that she either didn't know what the policy was that she helped put into place, or that she didn't even know that the salon was closed just for her. I mean, she didn't think it was odd that nobody else was there. We're realizing that we have a political class who wants to operate one way while the rest of us are going to have to scrounge for our survival. And that is not a good recipe for a functioning society.
Yeah, Dave. On that note of her claiming not to know, we have a statement from Drew Hamill, her spokesman, and this is what it says. The Speaker always wears a mask. No, she doesn't, by the way, and complies with local COVID requirements. This business offered for the Speaker to come in on Monday and told her they were allowed by the city to have one customer at a time in the business. The Speaker complied with the rules as presented to her by the establishment. So clearly this is untrue. You know, she didn't have a mask on. She wasn't following the rules. This is very, very clear now that she thinks there's a separate set of rules for her. And it's interesting, too, because she's been on TV for months now talking about how she takes the virus seriously. President Trump does not. And here she is, no mask in an establishment that is supposed to be closed. It's utterly ridiculous. But, Dave, we want to move on to another topic because this is fascinating to me. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have released this video. I find the video very odd. I want you to weigh in on it. They're talking about the decency of Americans. What's important to note is this was taped August 21st and has just now been released. Take a listen.
I really believe that the vast majority of the American people are truly decent.
Yes.
I think they're angry right now. Yeah. I think they're fed up. I think they're looking for some authenticity and some honesty.
We're better than this.
We are. I'm really excited you're willing to do this with
I
me.
am very excited about it. We're going to get this done, Joe.
Dave, does this strike you as odd?
Yeah, well, authenticity. If you think you're going to get authenticity from these two, you've got another thing coming. I mean, this really is a match made in hell. And I think most people have to understand, if you're supporting Biden or if you're voting for the Democratic nominee, you really are voting for Kamala Harris. And you only have to go back a couple months when Kamala was still in the race against Biden. And there's a truly telling moment that everybody needs to see over and over again when Joe Biden was asked about an executive action on guns. And he says it has to be constitutional, meaning you can only do an executive action if it's constitutional. The executive branch can't just decide to do something against the legislative branch. That's the way the system works. And Kamala Harris laughs in his face and says, hey, Joe, can't we just say, yes, we can? And that's where the energy of the left and the Democrats is. It has nothing to do with the Constitution. It has everything to do with just exercising power, whether it's opening up a salon for yourself or taking guns away if that's what you think is right, or letting people burn down cities. And the idea that they're the authentic duo in this race, yeah, no, it is not the case.
All right, Dave Rubin, who, as we just heard, gets his haircut in somebody's garage. Dave, thank you very much for joining us today from kind of a noisy LA. Thank you, sir.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.